This Day in Sports History. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. Well, hey there. It is This Day in Sports History with me, your friendly host, Steve White. This dish is a member of the Sports History Network, a group of sports nerds who like nothing better than deep diving into sports history. You can check out sportshistorynetwork.com for more info and to find your next great podcast listen. It's September 10th, and on this day in 2016, it was a wild and controversial finish to a college football game, and it should have never happened. This was week 2 of the college football season, and the Chippewas of Central Michigan made the trip to Stillwater, Oklahoma for a showdown with the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This wasn't supposed to be much of a game. Central Michigan was a middle-of-the-pack MAC team, and the Cowboys were number 23 in the country at this point, with hopes of challenging Oklahoma for the Big 12 title that season. The game certainly started like that was going to be the case, with the Cowboys putting a couple of touchdowns on the board in the first quarter. But the Chippewas fought back behind the arm of future Dallas Cowboys quarterback Cooper Rush. Rush threw a trio of touchdown passes, and at the midway point of the fourth quarter, Central Michigan led 24-20. Oklahoma State answered with a touchdown drive of their own and retook the lead. After picking off a Cooper Rush pass on the Chippewas' next drive, the Cowboys simply needed to run out the clock to escape with the win. With 4 seconds remaining, they faced a fourth down at midfield, and instead of punting it away, they ran a play instead.
On 4th and 13, just throwing it up. That'll do it.
Except that didn't do it. As the teams filtered on the field to shake hands, the PA guy thanked the crowd for coming, and post-game fireworks exploded over the stadium, the officials huddled at midfield. And then they threw a flag.
Chips are still in it. Intentional grounding. Number 2 was still in the pocket, and there was no receiver in the area. That's a loss of down foul at the spot of the foul, and there will be one untimed down. Wow. First down, Central Michigan.
And that is incorrect. The referees were working off of the idea that the game cannot end on an accepted live ball penalty. But there is an exception to the rule that says if enforcement of the foul involves a loss of down, then that would bring the game to an end. There would be a 10-second runoff, and there weren't 10 seconds to run off the clock. And as officials said after the game, the extension of the game should have never happened. But in the moment, the officials on the field's call stood, and Central Michigan got one more play with no time on the clock.
Cooper Rush is in the shotgun. 3 players lined up essentially by the goal line. Rush stepping up, throwing to Crow, catches the lateral. Here comes Willis. Willis racing to the end zone. Touchdown! Unbelievable! Central Michigan does it!
Final score, Central Michigan 30, Oklahoma State 27. Even after admitting that the untimed down should have never been awarded, well, there was nothing that could change the outcome. Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby said, "The game is final and errors can only be corrected during the course of the game. Very unfortunate." The officiating crew was suspended for 2 weeks, and none of those guys were allowed to ref a postseason bowl game that season. From that amazing finish to another one that happened on this day in 1978. And just like the untimed down, this one should not have counted either. Now, say what you want about video replay reviews of close plays in whatever sport you watch now. I mean, it is a fair way to arbitrate things in the moment. But in the days before 50 cameras watched every inch of turf and slow-mo could be zoomed into a nanometer to determine whether something happened or didn't happen, we relied on just the referees to say yay or nay. And with good old-fashioned human error figured in, we have some of the coolest plays to look back on, right? Well, on this day, the Oakland Raiders pulled off one of the wackiest ends to a football game to beat the San Diego Chargers. It was week 2 of the NFL season, and the Raiders had made the trip down the coast to Southern California for a game against the Chargers. Despite the fact that Oakland lost in week 1 and San Diego had won their season opener, the Raiders were, let's say, a little overconfident about their chances in this one. Raiders Pro Bowl linebacker Phil Villapiano said that the night before this game, a lot of the Raiders players went out to a country and western bar to sing karaoke and ended up singing and drinking into the early morning hours, missing curfew by several hours. When game day finally rolled around, they weren't exactly feeling their best, but they had a game to play, so they went to the stadium. Oakland kind of went through the motions in this one, and a few were a bit surprised that even though they were mostly still hungover, they were hanging around in the game. The Chargers led 20-14 late in this one. A Rolf Benerschke missed extra point was the only thing keeping it from being a 7-point lead. The Raiders had the football and they were driving down the field, needing a touchdown for sure. After a Kenny Stabler to Fred Biletnikoff hookup down to the 14-yard line, the Raiders took their final timeout with 10 seconds left. They took a shot at the end zone, but the pass fell incomplete, leaving 4 seconds on the clock. Here with the call is the one and only voice of the Raiders then, Bill King, from that day.
Saber back. Here comes the rush. He sidesteps. Can he throw? He can't. The ball flipped forward is loose. A wild scramble. 2 seconds on the clock. Casper grabbing the ball. It is ruled a fumble. Casper is recovered in the end zone. The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most zany, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play. Stabler, while being hit, the ball squirted forward. Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. They said yes. Get your big butt out of here. He does.
So Snake was nearly sacked in the backfield. Before he went down, the ball, let's just say, squirted out. Raider running back Pete Banaszak tried to pick it up, but instead advanced it forward where Oakland tight end Dave Casper fumbled it just a little bit more into the end zone before falling on it. The referees on the field ruled that Stabler had fumbled initially and that they could not determine whether Banaszak or Casper intentionally pushed the ball ahead. And if that play happens now, it's ruled an incomplete pass from the start. It doesn't even get to the fumbles, pushing it forward or anything like that. If there was replay available back then Jerry Markbright, who was the lead official in this game, would have seen it and he would have called it an incomplete pass. Stabler maintained for decades, it was a fumble, but always with a bit of a coy smile on his face. And finally, in 2008, in an interview with NFL Films, he admitted finally that, he tossed it forward. What else was he going to do with it, he said. Both Banaszak and Casper also admitted to pushing the ball forward illegally. The play soon became known as the Holy Roller, unless you were a Chargers fan, in which case you called it the Immaculate Deception, playing off the 1972 play that went against the Raiders. This play did lead to a rules change the following offseason, though, with the league saying that if a player fumbles inside the final 2 minutes of either half or overtime, or on 4th down at any time during the game, only the fumbling player can recover and advance the ball. If that player's teammate recovers the ball during those situations, it is placed back at the spot of the fumble. How about a crazy finish in a marathon? On this day in 1972, American Frank Shorter won the Olympic marathon, but to those watching in the stands, it seemed like somebody else had won the gold medal. It had been 64 years since an American had won the Olympic marathon, but a lot of hopes had been placed on Shorter's shoulders as he got started in this one. He was among the favorites along with the world record holder at the time, Australian Derek Clayton. Shorter took advantage of the mostly flat course through the streets of Munich, and he picked up the pace about 9 miles in. Nobody wanted to match his speed that early in the race, and so he separated himself from the pack and kept pushing and putting distance between him and the rest. With about 5 miles to go, he'd built up a lead of about a quarter of a mile, and he was running comfortably. He kept his advantage as he entered the tunnel heading into the stadium for one lap around. And that's when the imposter showed up.
That's not Frank. That's not Frank.
The man who came into the stadium is not Frank Shorter.
That is an imposter. That used to happen in the Boston Marathon. That is an imposter. Get him off the track.
A man wearing a West German uniform of a dark blue top and yellow shorts with the number 72 pinned to his back sprinted out of the tunnel ahead of Shorter to the cheers and adulation of the crowd. The man was later identified as a 22-year-old West German student named Norbert Sudhaus, and the number he was wearing looked legit. But his presence on the track caused confusion for fans, officials, and Shorter himself.
This morning saying, what in the world can happen today that will surprise us? Well, this is it. An imposter entering the Olympic Stadium, appearing to win the marathon. Shorter is dazed. He doesn't know what to do. Now the guy just went down to the marathon gate, put his hands to his head, and the officials down there don't see another difference. The crowd trying to let him know that he is the winner. Don't worry about it. But whether Frank thinks he lost or not, I have no idea. He may think that that other guy took a complete victory lap and then left the stadium, whereas the man never came to the finish line.
Sudhaus broke the tape and crossed the finish line, holding his head and panting as though he'd run the full distance. But he'd jumped into the race a kilometer from the finish. The number 72 he had pinned to his back had been pulled from a poster advertising merch for the 72 Olympics. It took several seconds for track officials to realize Sudhaus was an imposter and not the winner of the race, and they escorted him off the track. It robbed Shorter of his moment. He did not get to break the tape. He didn't really get to enjoy his triumphant moment. But Shorter was awarded the gold medal with a time of 2 hours, 12 minutes, 19 seconds. 2 minutes, 12 seconds faster than the runner-up. On this day in 1983, a linesman officiating a tennis match was hit by a ball, collapsed, and died 5 days later. This was the Junior Boys Championship match between Sweden's Stefan Edberg and Australia's Simon Yole. Edberg was serving and he fired one right down the tee. Yole did not get a racket on it, and it struck linesman Dick Wertheim in the groin. Now, at this point, the USTA allowed linesmen to sit in a chair if they wanted to, and Wertheim was seated. The shot caused Wertheim to fall backward, and he struck his head on the hard court surface. The blow to the head caused him to lose consciousness, and he was rushed to Flushing Hospital. He died 5 days later due to complications from his injury. It was obvious that Edberg was not at fault, but the Wertheim family sued the USTA for more than $2 million. The estate was initially awarded $165,000, but that was later reversed by a judge. After this incident, though, the International Tennis Federation barred line judges from sitting during matches. And on this day in 1992, it was a big win for NFL players when New York Jets running back Freeman McNeil, along with 7 others, won their court case against the NFL's Plan B free agency. So, Plan B was the first allowance of any type of free agency in the NFL. It was started in 1989, and it allowed for each NFL team to have limited rights to 37 players on their roster. If a player received an offer from another team, their current team had the right to negotiate and retain them. If you were not one of the 37 protected players, you could negotiate with whomever you wanted. McNeil and the 7 others who had been assigned Plan B status sued, saying that was an unlawful restriction. On this day, a jury agreed with them and awarded them damages. What this ruling led to was a rolling out of a new and still current version of free agency in the NFL at the start of the 1993 season that allows for players who have been in the league for at least 4 seasons and are at the end of their contract are unrestricted free agents and can sign with any team. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. During World War II, a Polish army company was sent to Iran. A few of the soldiers traded a Swiss army knife and some food for a Syrian brown bear cub. The bear and the soldiers became quick friends to the point that in order to keep him around, they made the bear a private in the army, and they added him to the unit. The bear helped by carrying ammunition into combat zones. Now, the bear survived the war and after that was relocated to the Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland, where he lived a happy, comfortable life until 1963, with many of his old platoon mates coming by for visits on occasion. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.